Here we're taking a look at an Axopar 28 pilot house with aft cabin. So this is a the customer already took delivery of this boat, so has all this stuff inside. But what we're gonna do is a quick run through. So this unit, this vessel doesn't have air conditioning yet, and we're getting to that now. So just to explain the different things that we're looking at, and now we're going through the planning process. So we're looking at the dash to start figuring out where we're going to put the AC control. So what we've decided is this control is going to get moved. We're going to put it over here, and the AC control is going to be here. The inverter control is going to be underneath. On this boat, we're doing a 7,115 volt unit. It's going to be a 2-vent setup. One vent's going to be up here, and then second vent's going to be down under there to blow into the aft cabin when needed, or it can also blow up into this pilot house area to assist a bit with the cooling. Forward over here, we're going to have the batteries in here. And then we're going to tie into the battery charger that has a spare. And so these table mounts, those clips for the table mounts are going to get relocated on this top over here. And so we're also thinking about the seawater insulation, where the unit's going to go. So the unit, we're going to fabricate a base that's going to be sitting up here. That JL audio amp is in the way of our return, so that's going to have to be relocated and the cables extended. This panel is going to come off, and behind this panel is where we're going to have the, in this hole over here, we're going to have to open this up a bit more, and we're going to have the seawater system, the intake system down in here. Over there where you see that panel, we're going to have to open that up to have access to that backside to be able to get the discharge through holes, one for the drain and then the other one for the seawater coming out. So as it's going to be a 7,000 BTU, it's going to be a 250 gallon pump. And so here you can see we're in the beginning processes. Before starting, we have our little kits together. And so we're going to have a PVC base here in this area to support the batteries. We'll have another base inside the cabin. And then as we advance a bit more, we'll go through the installations a bit more. So as far as thinking about the through hole, the reason why we're putting it over there is because we need to, the intake through hole, we need to have that as low as possible, but still accessible to where the unit is. And that's why we're putting it in that compartment. And then we have to think about the serviceability of that, so we'll go through all those things as we get to those points. Okay, so going back on this Axopar 28, so just to go over some of what's been done already. So over here we have the 2 through holes. So we have for the drain over here, and then here we have for the water coming out. The water line of this boat, you can see the bottom paint. The bottom paint ends about here. So we're above the water line. We don't want to be too high above the water line. Otherwise, we're going to have a large splash over the side of the boat that you'll see on some other installations. There's not a problem with that. It's just a matter of the noise and the look of it. And so that's what comes into play when we're thinking about it. We try to put it in a discrete location, that way it's not obvious to the eye, but still possible. We like to go, some of the Europeans like to go below the water line on the water discharge. But our issue with that is that then you can't see the flow of water, and we like to keep it visible. So all you have to do is put your head over the side of the boat and you can see the flow of water coming out past over here, and it'll let you know if you have enough water, if you have an issue, maybe a clogged strainer or a clogged intake. So looking over here at the through hole, you can see that all around. So all around the inside, we go all around the through hole with 5200. So we use 3M 5200 on here, and then the screws, we'll drill a pilot. So we'll pre-drill, and then we'll put 5200 on the tip of the screw and put it in place. That way we seal the screw going in. That is going to be the best way to do it, and then obviously you just clean around and take out the excess 5200 that would be there. Just be careful on how much you put, because what can happen is if you overglob the 5200, it can clog the hole that you see in the back over there. So you'll see a little lip that we have. That's fine as it is, but if you overdo it, there is the possibility of doing too much and it'll cause a restriction. Through hole has to be facing forward. So there we have the bow of the boat. So we have to be facing forward. And once again, if you have a situation, it's possible that a bag will go over this, plug it, and won't allow water to come through. So that can be one of the reasons for high pressure alarms. So that's one thing to bear in mind. But as far as installation goes, it's just to bear in mind that this has to be facing forward, and as low as possible. We had something in the way over here, so we couldn't go any further over, and so we're over here, still well below the water line, as the pump has to be below the water line. I'll go inside and show how we have the installation over there. So, valve we have to have good access to. So, as far as the strainer goes, you're just going to take this off here, the valve closed. You're going to take it out, clean it, then make sure, if you look inside around the lip, there's a black seal right there. Make sure that it's properly bedded in its place, make sure the strainer's in the proper location, otherwise you can cause damage to the basket. Don't force it if it feels like it doesn't want to go on, just see why it doesn't want to go on. So I'm going to back it off a little bit. You're going to crack that valve. Some water's you're going to see the basket starts to fill with water, and then you're going to have some water coming out of the top here. Once you're sure you have no more air, you tighten it up all the way, open the valve all the way, and then we're ready for the pump. So you can see on the installation, everything's on an uphill. Get to the strainer, mounting up the pump. It is very important the pump's in this configuration. The discharge has to be higher than the intake, otherwise we're leaving the chance for an airlock. Then with the hose, we're going up, and that way that no air can stay trapped inside of the pump. All of this is below the water line, and the lower we are, the better it is. And then on this cover that's going in this area, we're gonna have an access plate, and that way it's just opening an access plate. There's no screws to remove, it's just opening an access plate. You'll have access to the strainer, access to the valve, and also access to the pump if anything happens. Now, looking over here, this is the other side of what I was showing you. So those are the two discharges. So we have the drain right there. And then we made up that plate. And then where that hole is where that panel that you saw before. So we relocated the panel a little bit off to one side. Then over here, so remember yesterday we had the amplifier over there, so we moved the amplifier, opened the return, so straight into the cabin. We got this ducting passed to the aft. So here we used a 3-inch duct. I'll show you where that one's coming out on the other side. We're gonna have a secondary duct going straight in over here. It's gonna go up. Once we have that passed, I'll show you that as well. And then over here, so we try to work with something down all the time, that way we're not putting anything down on delicate surfaces. And that's now where we have the JL amplifier. So just moved it from the port side to the starboard side. And then we have Alex over here working on the DC side of things. So getting the battery switch in place, working the fuse holder I should say. And then we have one of the batteries in place over here. We have the inverter. Or, I'm sorry, the batteries are not in place anymore. The batteries have been removed, but we have the two batteries here. So, 200 amp hour lithium batteries, weighing in at a whopping 31 pounds a piece. And then we're adding in a charge separator, that way we can charge the batteries with the engine alternators. Now, moving forward to the cabin, so this is the return we're looking at. You can see Mauricio over there, passing some cables. Here we have the digital control for the unit, inverter control, and then so we had the fusion that you see here. We had that over here in this area, so we moved it from here to over here. We'll see everything once completed, but this is going to be the return over here. We have one vent somewhere in this area. This is rotatable, so you can move the air around as required. And then we have the second duct coming out over there, but the vent's really going to be over here in this area, under the speaker, somewhere around there, wherever we can access. And that way the vent's going to be able to blow into the aft cabin, or like I said, rotate to blow up over here in this area. The vents, you'll notice, so we have the return as low as we could put it, and we try to have the vents in areas, so this one's up high as we like it. It's going to be blowing upwards, and then this vent is blowing at a lower level, but that's just because we need to get under the seating, because that's going to be covered up to here, and then the bottom is open, so we're going to be blowing from here into that cabin, and the possibility here to blow up. But the best case scenario on air conditioning, we always want to have supplies up high, we want to have returns down low, just because the warm air rises, so we want to push the cold air up and force that warmer air back into the AC unit to get cooled down, and that way we don't have pockets of warm air in the vessel. Over here you can see the PVC base that was mocked up or built for the batteries to sit on, because that's angled inside of there. And as we advance a little bit more, we'll continue this video. Here we have the 200 amp hour batteries in place. Battery isolator. So we're getting together the wiring of that now. And then looking over here at the head, we have the unit in place. You can see the splitter. And then so we're gonna have a wall up there to cover up the unit. You can see the ducting's all passed. That cover is gonna go back on. And so once we get further along, we also have over there the ducting going underneath. We have the DC panel in place. And then we have the plate to remove for access. And then you can also see the hoses coming through. So the ducting in this particular instance, so we use non-insulated, just because we had some tight spots to fit through. And we have really short runs. So we put a little screw to hold it in place, then we cover it with insulation tape. The unit has several supports going around it to keep it secured while the boat's underway. We'll have easy access to the filter over here. Filter's right in front of us. And then as far as the hose clamps go, we have 2 full stainless steel ABA hose clamps in reverse position, the way they should be. So this is now looking at the 28. So we have the inverter breaker over here. So the inverter breaker is what's feeding the air conditioning. We're also feeding the outlets. Over here we have the inverter, Xantrex 1800. We have our 2 lithium batteries. And we have a battery switch for the inverter. Over here we have the fuse, 250 amp. Over here the charge relay and the battery isolator. That way we're charging the lithium batteries with the inverter of the boat. The battery charger had a spare bank, so we ran another line from the battery charger that's capable of lithium to charge our batteries when the boat's at shore power. If we go into the cabin, or I'm sorry, into the head, we have the unit over here. So if we look at this little space up here, you can see the unit down in there. And if we go down into the head, so we're just gonna sit here like we're taking care of business. And then so inside of this access plate, we have the strainer, we have the pump, and we have the valve. So going to the helm, now everything's connected. So here we have the inverter control and the AC control. So the inverter, we're just gonna hold it down. So we have 13.2 volts. Then we'll have the AC come on. So turn it on. Right now it's in fan only. You can change the modes around. So there I'm set for heat. You can see the yellow. Blue, I'm set for cool, but we're gonna leave it in fan mode since I'm out of the water. We have 1 vent over here on the helm. If we turn around over here, I'll go into the aft cabin to show a bit better. So we have this vent that can be turned to blow into the aft cabin, or as discussed before, it can be turned to also help in the helm if there's no one in the aft cabin. In both of these vents, that vent you just have is rotatable, and this vent is the same thing. Now, although these vents can be closed, do not close them. We have to always maintain airflow coming out of both of these vents. Otherwise, we have otherwise we will freeze up the AC unit because we won't have enough airflow. Okay, we'll come back here. We'll turn off the unit. We're going to turn off the inverter. I went into the wrong setting. So anyways, I don't have to turn it off from there, so I don't know why I showed you that. What we're gonna do is go forward. And we're gonna turn off that battery switch. So now it's off. Cool. Okay, so now we're in the water. So for the initial startup, we're just gonna, like I said, we're gonna loosen this since this is all empty. Open the valve. Water coming out, so now we're going to tighten this up. The valve is open all the way. And now we're ready to start. Unit's on. We're just going to look over here on the side. So that we have water flow. And so that little symbol on top is saying that the pump, we're calling for the pump, and then we'll have a little. So now the compressor just engaged. So now we're going to be blowing some cold into the cabin. Got 1 and 2. Here we're connected, but I have the breaker off. So it'll be the same thing as if I disconnect. So we're running off strictly batteries right now just to do the initial test. And this is the noise that you would hear from the head where the unit's located.